You too, yeah. I'm all good. Just calm before the storm. Everything kicks off for us
One
this
week.
weekend. Really, we start practicing for tour in a couple days. And then the tour starts in like a week. So yeah, calm before the storm right now. Getting the
Hell
last few
yeah.
homemade coffees in, and
Make the most of it. What's the biggest thing you miss on the road? Is it the homemade coffee? Obviously, it's going to be the partner. But what else do you miss
yeah,
about, like, what's the hardest thing being on the road?
honestly, sometimes it's just like alone time. I'm like
Yeah.
quite a homebody, and like I'm kind of introverted guy. Like I like my alone time. I'll stay up late just to get a few hours just doing nothing. So sometimes it's that. I think sometimes you can get a little overwhelmed on tour with just like you're around people 24/7. Like you're never alone, truly alone. So it's yeah, that for me anyway can get a little overwhelming at times, but luckily we're in good company, so it's not too bad. But yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
get home from a tour and I'm just like, give me a couple of days to just do absolutely nothing, and just kind of be alone. Obviously, my partner's I want to be around her, but like yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think it's just a little bit of silence, a little bit of solitude I kind of miss. So.
Yeah. Okay. When you like doing like UK based shows, I compare that to like you guys were in Australia not that long ago, which I sadly missed because I went to my stupid friend's wedding. But when you do Oz, you're so far away from home, and the venue tour is like Melbourne to Brisbane. That's like a couple of hours to fly there, so you can't just like pop on over and see someone. When you're in the UK, you don't really have that excuse. You're all it really is very close to get to everywhere else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, luckily when we tour in the UK, like we do have friends that will kind of come to multiple dates or just try.
Cool.
My girlfriend will probably come along for a couple of shows or whatever, just nipping along to come and see us. A couple hours here and there. But yeah, touring Oz is a little hectic. Like I absolutely love Oz. It's like truly one of my favorite places in the world. But you know, you got to make time for all that flying, and
Yeah.
after your fifth airport in a week, you're like, it does get a little, gets a little tired, but yeah, it is what it is. It's one of those. As long as you got a couple of days off in between shows, then it's not too bad. But if you're flat out, it's the same in like Asia. It's the same in South
Yeah.
America at points. Less infrastructure, like less comfortability, I think, in those countries, which adds a nice little bit of variety to the tour. But yeah, it can get pretty hectic. It's not like touring the UK where it's just like everything's a kind of 3-4 hour drive max. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not like America where it's like, oh, we're driving 10 hours tonight, so get in the van,
And
let's
there's
go.
nothing in between for that. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna see two gas stations, so that's about it. Yeah.
When you talk about the business, the calm before the storm, you're also got an album releasing. We chatted about this or end of last year a bit, but we'll hold this interview until the album's dropped, so we can give away dirty little secrets right now because there won't be secrets by then.
Yeah,
But dude, you crushed it. It's as you said, it's a real like neck deep OG sounding record, but without sounding phoned in. It doesn't sound at all like you guys have like just done the usual thing. You've just done what you do and done it really well, which, as you said last time, that was the goal.
yeah, yeah. It was you know, I think after post COVID, like it still took us probably a couple of years to like fully get back into the swing of things, and like we were still doing like a lot of like rescheduled stuff, and so it felt like we were doing stuff from like a couple of years. So once we got all that rescheduled stuff out of the way and we'd kind of gotten out of the slump, it was like I think we had a lot of time to reflect and like
Yeah.
do a bit of soul searching, and I think where we like where's the band going? What do we do? What's this next record going to be? And ultimately, it was just like okay, well, you know, the rug was almost fully swept out from under our feet, and so we came so close to losing everything that it was like it kind of made us simplify what we were doing, we approach the band, and it was like, okay, well, what did we love about Neckbeat when we started? Like, what was it that we loved about the music? What was it we were trying to do with the music? What was it that we loved about shows? Like just getting back to like the kind of core part of it, and that led us just, we wanted to write another pop punk record, and we thought, that was that would probably just, I don't know, like I said, simplifying and just kind of going like, what do people love about us? And yeah, so that will be a pop punk band, trying to overcomplicate things. People love you for not taking yourselves too seriously, and maybe being a helping hand in some tough times, or just being a soundtrack to some of the good songs. Like that's kind of something that we're leaning on at the minute, and I think that kind of sums us up pretty well. And so it actually came really naturally, and the record was like, it was tough to make. We ended up doing it ourselves, but I guess that's another thing. But yeah, just winding it in a little bit and not trying to reinvent the wheel, not trying to constantly reinvent ourselves, and just saying, hey, let's just do what we do really, really good at it. And that's what people were looking for. And it felt good to be back writing pop punk without this like little devil on your shoulder kind of being like, but
yeah,
you want to evolve, you want to be like, a real musician. It's one of those where pop punk doesn't always feel like the most like virtuoso genre going. So sometimes I think as a musician you can feel a little bit like delegitimized by it sometimes when you're talking to all these like super, super expansive musicians. But then maybe I think that was what we realized is like that's kind of part of who we are as well. Is like we make fun music. We don't like dive super deep into like all these experimental things. Maybe we'll dabble in the future, but keep it simple. I think we managed to elevate the sound without say phoning it in, making it sound stale. It doesn't feel like a lifestyle to get you part two. It does feel like its own thing, and feels like a more modern kind of more modern souped up version of Neck Deep, just like being better, which is crazy because that's what we wanted to do. And we doubt ourselves every step of the way, but when it's all said and done, it's like, yeah, I think we made a really great record that people are just going to have a lot of fun with.
Would you say your influences have changed in the times? Because like listening to the album, I hear so many of the bands that I know that you've like talked before with us about like growing up with. Like I hear some really strong Blink influences in like the melody, particularly the bass work. I hear that so often being like, oh, that's so Blink right there, but not a rip off. It's like an homage to it. Obviously, like you said, Seb sat and produced this one, right? Like how you guys used to do it. How does that come about? Like as your tastes change and your influences change, do you reckon that impacts the way this kind of has allowed you to progress and not sound like a redoing of Life's Not Out to Get You?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I don't feel like our influences have changed a whole bunch. I think it's always been one thing that's always kind of managed to do well. I think is like kind of merging everybody's influences and kind of getting the best out of that. But I think now it's Seb in the band, and now he's producing. Like me and him are very much on the same wavelength with all that sort of stuff. It can be a bit telepathic at points where we'll be flicking through ideas and we'll kind of raise eyebrows at the same stuff and kind of turn to each other and go like, oh, that bit, and not even have to say what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, that needs to change. So I think having maybe another like avid Blink and just pop punk kid, because I'd say out of the band, me and Seb are probably two that have the most influence there. So yeah, maybe having Seb along kind of like helped finesse those influences a little bit more, like tighten those influences and make them a bit clearer, and like just pulled it off a little better. But I was thinking about this, like it's basically at a point now with the band where like we're all like in ways with this record, like it's almost like Neck Deep was the influence. You know what I mean? Because we've been around for so long, like we have a back catalogue that we can like pull ideas from, and like that we can use as like we can use as kind of reference. said when we said like let's kind of dial it back a little bit and like let's figure out what we loved about Neck Deep, like especially in those early days. So I think like our own, not even necessarily our own music, but our own development was probably the biggest influence.
It's cool to be able to look at that stuff and be like, we did something here. What can we do to elevate that now we've got this skill set or this experience along the way?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's stuff like looking at Lifestyle to get you and listening back to some of the lyrics, and like some of them are amazing lyrics, but some of them I'm like, okay, I can write better than that, but with that same kind of like that same kind of attitude behind it. I'd say there's been a slight return of the like the positive message and the like PMA shit, which is cool. But I think it's like a slightly more evolved kind of take uh, on that side of things. It's not just like, because I thought like Life's Now to get you, and this is why people I guess love it. But as a slight maybe like it's a little bit naive. Maybe I was like 19, 20 when I wrote that record, and it's that youthful exuberance. Just you couldn't shake me out of that positive mindset at that point. And then 10 years later, nearly 10 years later, I'm a bit older, a bit wiser. So I think it's like a more nuanced take uh, on like your outlook on life. But still, there's still a lot of positivity in there, and there's still a little bit of that guide to life thing, arm around the shoulder thing, but I think it's just done a little bit slicker and a little bit more thought out and a little bit more experience. So yeah, and our influences are still very much the same. Me and Seb still sit there and we write something that sounds like Blink, and this little thing goes off in our brains. It's like, yes, this is how it should sound, and but at the same time, like using our own story is kind of like a bit of a reference point as well, and kind of trying to draw on some elements of early days.
Yeah. You're launching an album at the very beginning of the year. Like this is the first in our calendar, the first big release of the year. Is that a daunting thing? Like being like, we're setting the year, here's the expectation. Is that just not like thought about? It just comes out when it comes out. Is it?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, like you're nailing your colors to the mast pretty early. You're putting all your cards out on the table, ready for people to see, like right at the start of the year. And a couple of people have said, "Oh, album of the year already." I think Mark Hoppus was saying "Bricks" was his song of the year or something already, or his anthem of the year, and I was like, "This is crazy." People are saying that, but I'm sat there thinking what you're kind of thinking, like it's like the first release of the year. People I think are getting a little bit trigger happy on that sentiment, but yeah, it's a little daunting in that respect. You're laying your cards out early, but I think for us as well, maybe the expectation of like accolades and just the album of the year or blah 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 blah, getting a number one, whatever it may be. Like that stuff is cool, and it obviously feels good to have someone like Hoppus say they love the track and all this. But at the same time, it's like I think we've gotten, and I personally, I think I've gotten my head into like chasing stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
And like it's kind of like I think it's good to be ambitious. It's good to have that drive and to want to be successful. But at the same time, I think it can maybe cloud it a little bit, and you can kind of get caught up in the success of the record rather than just like what it means to you. So I think at this point we've kind of just dialed it back a little bit and just like, what, if it does well and it gets some acclaim, then that's awesome. But at the same time, like as long as fans love it is the most important part. As long as our fans are stoked, and like that's where it all starts. I mean, I think with Nick the way that it kind of kicked off was just that like we're right connected, wanted to share. Sorry, wanted to share and wanted to tell their friends about. And so I think if we can just get a little bit of that back and just serve fans, then the acclaim would be cool. But for the most part, like we're just putting out to. I think it means that we get to start the year off on something big, and we've got a whole year of that being the kind of focus.
I think that's great.
And yeah, so it's nice, really. I'm not too too concerned with it being early. It works in our favor in some ways, but yeah, in other ways it can be a little daunting. But
I think it's a cool thing because I think so many people like it gets to sort of the first week of December, and then there's nothing new until some point in the new year. Everyone's just like, "Oh, Christmas! We don't release new music unless it's Christmas music." So people are like champing at the bit for something new. I think it's exciting. You're giving people something to like latch onto early in the year, which is I think it's a cool move. Whether that was intentional or not, I like it.
no, to be honest, I think the record was meant to be out earlier than this, but the way that the recording process went, it ended up being pushed back a little bit because yeah, we basically scrapped like 6 weeks worth of work in LA
Oh,
to go and do it ourselves. Yeah, I mean, all part of the process. You know what I mean? That
yeah,
was
that's
kind of
true.
how we
Yeah,
were seeing it. It's like if this is what it has to be, and that has led us to this where we have to do it ourselves, and that's what makes us the most comfortable and what we think will get the best results. And so be it. Definitely stressful sitting around and saying like, oh, should we waste all this
yeah,
time and money and go and spend even more time and effort and
probably
making it
yeah, definitely
ourselves?
more
But yeah, not so much money. We saved a bit of money doing it ourselves, but
more effort
we
though, more stress.
yeah, oh, way more effort. Yeah, especially for Seb, man. Fucking
Yeah,
Seb was grinding it out, just like yeah, it's no easy job. It's a tough one. So yeah, he really pulled it out of the bag with this one. He was
but as I
working his
said,
ass off. So
you guys should be very proud of what you have pulled together. Have you got current favorite track on the album? You know, actually, I'm going to rephrase that. I'm going to do something Johnny always does. I never get to do this. He has asked the hard question, which is like one album, your favorite, and then one song that you would cut from the album if you had to.
okay,
So give me a best and a. It doesn't have to be. I mean, yeah, give me a reason. But
yeah, I got you. No, I feel it. There's songs like that on every record for sure. There's songs that you wish you could have worked a little more, maybe didn't quite crack before we had to get on the record. But I'd say the song I'm vibing the most at the moment is "They May Not Need to, but They Do,"
yeah,
which is quite a sentimental one and quite a meaningful one. I think it kind of hits on a bit of a unique topic, which not a lot of does, which is a song all about your relationship with your parents and how when you grow up, you kind of realize that your parents are just big kids who are trying to figure it out the same way that you are, and you know whether whether they were mistakes, whether they were great, amazing things that they did, everything that they kind of do and pass on to you is something that you're going to absorb and is going to it's going to have an effect later on in life, and that kind of universal truth that like yeah, our parents are just humans and they're just trying their best, and unfortunately one day you're probably just going to be some sort of like some slight variation of your parents ultimately, and
yeah,
to recognize that and to be aware of their faults and their and that they they're only human and they make mistakes, but at the same time loving them no matter what message. And as well, like just the way that we wrote that, I had that idea for ages on guitar. I just had a chorus of like the music bed pretty much, and there's always one or two songs like that on our records where I'll write a song that doesn't quite sound like neck deep, but it's got loads of potential, and then we have to like kind of neck deep it up, and that would turn out well. So I'm vibing off that one. But then one if I had to, I feel bad saying it, but I'd maybe say, and not that it's a bad song by any means, but for similar reasons, like I really struggled writing it. It took me fucking ages to write, and uh, it's maybe just like a little bit of a different vibe, and that's the only reason why I was pick it out and say, oh, maybe this one. But Moody Weirdo, I love that song, and it's got like some of my favorite lyrics. The second verse of Moody Weirdo is like, I think, really poetic. I'm really happy with those lyrics. Like it's a little moodier, it's a little slower, it's more introspective. And it's just maybe the one that it doesn't sonically is maybe the furthest jump from the rest of the stuff. So
sure.
probably Moody Weirdo, even though I still love that song. Great chorus too.
I think that's the one thing. The album flows super easily. My wife and I listened to it on a road trip, so we had it quite a lot to put it back to front, and we'd realized we'd gone through like twice in full without really noticing that the album had started again because it wasn't like it had like a real. Obviously, we'd heard the songs by that stage, and they'd become a bit more familiar, but it didn't feel like, oh, here's that jarring moment, so you know where you are on the album. It all had a pretty effortless flow, which I guess comes down to, as you said, the neck deeping of it, but also, said for his production to keep it all having that same kind of tone towards it. Um, I get what you mean, though. It's always interesting that the sonic departures, even though it might not be crazy, if you have to pick one, that's the point you're going to go with because it's, yeah.
Yeah, well, we wanted it all to be pretty short, sharp, to the point, really in your face, and I think for the most part the record is. We shied away from doing an acoustic song. We got a ballad in there with "Won't Be Like This," but yeah, we wanted it to be. I wanted it to be pretty pumping the whole way through, really, and we knew it was going to be a short record. Like I said, we were kind of pressed for time because we had to reset kind of halfway through and get the record made. Like we probably would have loved to cram another couple songs on there, but if they weren't, if they weren't feeling right, then we weren't about to shoehorn something on there that we felt that as though 10 songs sounded good. That those 10 seemed to feel good, and then there was maybe one or two that were in the bag too that we were just like, these don't really fit with the rest of the stuff, and maybe they just need like another couple weeks of just pulling away stuff, but. Yeah, it is a pretty short record. I've seen some fans complaining a little bit, and I totally fucking get it. This is something that like we talked about in the studio. It's like it's only 10 tracks, so it's pretty short. And like the way that labels and stuff want to go about releasing things these days, it's just get singles out and drag out the kind of promotion side of it quite a lot, which I get it from a label standpoint.
How do you
But
feel about
it just means that from an artist standpoint, I think I get it. Like I get it with fans. I as a fan, I would probably be like, oh, this new album's coming out and it's awesome, and I'm gonna love it, and I still get like a bunch of new songs, which is great. And they're all, it's nice to have things as a big package rather than just a collection of singles, and you get the artwork and the whole kind of feel of it and the excitement of a record. But yeah, I would release less singles, I think, and maybe have a shorter sort of promotional period. But it's so weird, man. The music industry is changing so much in terms of the way that like songs are released and how people consume music, that it's kind of this ever changing thing. I'm sure there'll be another way of doing things the next time we come around. But yeah, I get it. But in my mind as well, that's like it's a cool thing that it's kind of short too. Like a lot of classic punk records and
fully.
pop records and even hardcore. That all of that, like those adjacent genres are a lot of them are short, sharp, to the point. They're not always like these big, massive. It's not Red Hot Chili Peppers album. You know what I mean? It's like they're pretty short, sharp, to the point, pretty condensed, and I think that's how we thought about it. And as well, now that we have a studio that's like and a space where we can go at any time and jam, write, record, whatever it may be. We've got a lot more flexibility and a lot more freedom of how and when we decide to make more music. So, and I think the aim as well is just like we're on a set a good pace for ourselves at this point, and I feel like it's people are talking about next week and excited about next week again. So, who knows? Maybe we could just crack straight on and just get writing and releasing some more music. I don't know when that'll be, but if fans want more,
when you're inspired,
yeah, we can give them more.
Yeah, I want to talk about inspiration because this, as I said, this is the first sort of like big thing of the new year. But I want to talk about 2023 for a second. What were your like favorite musical moments outside of your band from last year? Like, what were your most played albums? What were you really vibing with last year?
I think my favorite artist that I found last year, and I'm pretty sure he put the record out last year. I think it was Jeff Rosenstock. Jeff Rosenstock and his record Hell Mode. but then his back catalog's great too. But Jeff was, yeah, my favorite like new artist that I discovered last year. I think he just combines. He's like a one of the, like a kind of genre blending guy, but of all the genres that I love, normally when people are genre blending, it's usually like, oh, we're blending like gays and like indie, like it's this weird mishmash stuff, which is great. That's cool. But there's when somebody comes along and they're merging all these like stuff that I love and grew up on, it's gonna get my attention straight away. So yeah, there's moments in there that remind me of Green Day. There's like weird little ska moments. There's weird sort of like um sort of indie sing-alongs in there and stuff. Like yeah, he's just awesome. And that record was great, start to finish. Is like absolute crazy, just like fully cranked up like I don't even know how to explain it. Yeah, it's all just super kind of yeah, it's all like rooted in punk. It all has this funky kind of snarl to it, and his lyrics are awesome as well. So yeah, Jeff Rosenstock was definitely my favorite new artist of the year that I found. Second one, maybe the return of Blink and just what that meant, like for our genre, for our world,
Yeah,
and for like any Blink fan and stuff. Like it really feels as though like it feels as though the scene and as a whole, the alternative music scene is like a little bit
healed
more
again.
whole now. Yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit. Just like genuinely feels like that, Like
totally. Yeah,
if Blink aren't around or if Tom's not in Blink, it's kind of like this weird thing that everybody is going like, love Blink, but we'll come back to it then. And
how do you
the
feel about
fact
the
that they
actual
came
album?
together. Yeah, I like it. It's cool. There's some great songs on there. It's is it Terrified? I think was my favorite on the
Yeah,
record. Is it? I think it's
it's
Terrified. Yeah,
the
Terrified
Boxcar
was my
Racer song.
favorite. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's probably why I loved it. Still, that Boxcar record. It's the only one. It's one of my favorite records of all time. I love
It's
it.
a
So
phenomenal album. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So Terrified was my favorite off the record. And yeah, it was good. Again, I think it just felt good to have Blink back together doing stuff and kind of having fun and seeing the evolution is like, I love that Tom is still pretty much the same dude, if not even like even hornier, which is kind of funny. But at the same time as well, I love how Mark is now become like the dad that has to like reel it in and has to be like Tom.
yeah. I feel like he was
It's
always
not.
the dad, but it's just now it's like a bit more pronounced because he's just a bit older.
Is that yeah? So it's like yeah, I get it. Yeah, he was always slightly more kind of tactful than Tom. I think Tom
Yeah,
was just the perpetual child, but I think Mark had a little bit of thing, but it's more so now. So yeah, I love the dynamic now, and yeah, it's just cool to see him active. It's cool to see him complete, and I think it did loads for the genre just generally. People who don't care about pop punk at all were back to listen to pop punk for the first time.
yeah.
However long however long it was. Yeah. And then the third, oh, God, I don't know about the third. It's tough. Those were the two that like stick out in my mind. Um, Knuckle Puck's new album was really good. I really like Knuckle Puck's new album. I thought they did a great job on that. I think they managed to balance typical like classic pop punk sound and stuff, but also like really nail their own kind of hardcore emo, like just driving.
The aggression is done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There's a bit more aggression in there, I would say, which is like really cool that they've gone that way. And knowing all those guys personally, like I can see how they went that way. Um, yeah, I think Knuckle Puck was really, really, really great record for um, so that's cool. It's tough to pick them out. I'm sure there's probably a few more, but those are
do
the ones
you
that stand out.
do you get in on like the Spotify Wrapped thing? Do you like do
Yeah,
you
I
like
do,
look at that?
but
Because I'm always interested by that because I'm like sometimes it really surprises me. I my
you're like,
playlist
wow,
and
all
my
right, listen to that more than I
well
thought. Yeah,
yeah, or I listen to it way less than I thought I did because I'm like, oh, I must have listened to it like heaps for a week. and then not as much after that or something. And like my Spotify is what gets played at the gym, like a lot of the time. So
right.
I know that I have to like kind of like if my wife's with me, she doesn't like heavy metal, so I'll put on like more pop punky stuff. So I know that pop punk's always gonna be like my number one genre because I listen to it with her more than anything. But it's always interesting seeing like, oh, that artist there that I didn't expect to have listened to as much as I did. God, I hate like Fall Out Boy. Fall Out Boy is my number one artist again, and I was like, I
Wow.
didn't expect that. That came out and like they released a banging album, but I didn't expect them to be number one.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think mine was slightly uh wasn't super accurate because, to be honest, I only just switched over to Spotify like a few months ago, if that. Like,
Ah,
because I had Apple Music for ages, and I don't know why, because the Spotify algorithm is way better. It's been throwing me bands that that a few bands that I really like. So, um, yeah, but my rap was kind of similar. Jeff Rosenstock was at the top. I'm just gonna see if I can find it real quick because there was a couple albums on there again that I was like, oh damn, I listened to that a lot and like didn't
yeah.
realize how much I'd listened to it. But there was a hardcore band on there, the Canadian hardcore. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Oh yeah, like mine. Prime example of like, oh damn, I listened to that. Like a bunch of Phoebe Bridges was fourth in mine. So it's like I didn't think
Okay.
I listened to Phoebe
Getting
Bridges
down with
that
Phoebe.
much, but I was like, yeah, but I was like, okay, yeah, I must have listened to her a fair bit, but she was fourth in mine. High Vis were another great one as well, actually.
Cool.
I don't know if they're making waves in Australia. Yeah, I'm sure they are. They're popping off,
Not in a
but
big way, but like I've heard of them, but I don't think that it'd be like a big common name yet.
right. I can imagine it will be at least at the very least within the hardcore world, but I can see them, transcending that even. Um, yeah, maybe one of the most up and coming bands in the UK right now. I'd say
So
they're making waves out here, and doing pretty well over in the States. But they're again like it sounds like the Stone Roses, but with a Scouse hardcore vocalist.
sure.
It's just like such a mad combo of like
Yeah.
of things, but it works so well. Uh, so yeah, I think Hyde is rightly so on my level. But hopefully next year mine will be a little bit more accurate. It'll have a little bit more data to pick up.
I think it's cool. Like everyone, like I don't know where you stand on this. People get like really freaked out and like they're watching, they're listening to everything we're doing, they're tracking everything we're doing. But I'm like, but it sends me exactly the music I want to hear. I'm so down for
Ex-
that because it just recommends me all
exactly.
the shit I want to hear.
Yeah, if people like I get advertised shit all the time that I'm like, I get advertising that, but at the same time, like that is I do kind of want to buy that.
I
That
do
would
want to
be
buy that.
that would be yeah. So there's a lot of times where I'm like, a bit freaked out that like, how is my phone recommending me that? But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, you can listen to my conversation if you want. I'm not doing anything weird. Like it's fine. Sometimes if I'm talking about something that I want, I'll get my phone and be like, I really want this, so it knows to show me stuff. But yeah,
Are you
yeah,
listening?
it's yeah, we're not getting away from it. I mean, if you don't want to be shown products, then like, yeah, throw your phone in the lake. I don't know. Yeah,
I
I don't know.
I listened
It's
to a podcast with a guy that did. He used to work for like it was Microsoft or Apple or one of those brands, and his whole thing was working in that department of like how to advertise kind of subliminally. There we go, that's the word. Um, it was super interesting because like I was always saying, I was like, you get that ads come up, and you're like, I didn't type this. How did I get recommended this? And he was saying, here's how it happened. He's like, I spent the weekend at my mum's house. I got home, and the first ad I got was for a toothpaste that my mum used. I've never talked about this toothpaste. I've never bought it, but that toothpaste was advertised to me. And here's why. And he was saying that essentially, when you're on her cellular network or her Wi-Fi at that house, it recognizes that two devices who have got the same contacts, the same sort of people are there together. So it goes, well, this person really likes it, and you're there all the time on the same network, so you probably would like it too. So we're going to advertise things that we advertise to her or that she buys to you in the hopes that you might like them too. I was like,
that's
yeah,
crazy,
it
man. Yeah,
makes sense,
I've
but
thought that before actually. Yeah, that stuff that I've not even talked about that it's recommended me, and I'm like, shit, like in my brain. Like, are they
yeah.
going into my mind? Are they like, reading my thoughts? Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, if
That's
you go to like
that's
Seb's
kind of
house all the
genius.
time and he buys stuff all the time using this thing, you might start getting recommended it just because you're using his network, not because you guys have talked about it, not because you've searched it, because the internet has registered that you might like this thing too. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I keep getting recommended butt plugs. It must be because I've been spending a lot of time up at Pals and West House because
It has
I
to
ain't
be.
looking for that, but I know that.
But you like
Just
it when
blame
you
it
see
on.
it.
Yeah, exactly. It knows me well. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that's kind of genius, but kind of scary, kind of genius. But again, if it helps me buy Christmas presents or it helps me, find stuff that I like, whatever. I think that's just the modern world. And hey, especially if it's music, if it wants to start throwing up neck deep, does it work for Spotify? Is that the case? So, like, say if you went around to like, I don't know, say you've got a friend who's like a huge neck deep fan or whatever, and you're maybe not, not too aware of it. Does Spotify do that too? Where like it'll be like, oh, be your buddy
I
likes
don't
neck
know
deep
because it's
still.
its own app. Like no one listens to Spotify through a web browser generally. So I think if it's in an app, it probably wouldn't have that. But it still does the thing where like you can because a call got this the other day. We got the car and my Spotify's playing, and she got a thing coming up when on her phone saying like, "Do you want to blend with Nathan?" Like it Spotify was recommending she can create a playlist based on our stuff together. I guess that would then start
Yeah,
to influence it on a bigger. I don't
yeah.
know.
But again, they're all cool features, and that's kind of it is what it is. Like it sucks if like some fucking hacker somewhere or some like crazy dodge company gets a hold of your data, sure, but like yeah, nobody wants that. But if it's like
Yeah.
I'd say that's pretty useful. Kind of like
Any hackers, all they're
these
getting from me
algorithms get to
is
know us.
they're just gonna find my dog toys, the things I keep searching for my dog.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I don't know about you, I've got a crazy little terrier who, even if the dog toy is recommended and says like this is the strongest wearing thing, like tough wearing dog toy, that little guy will destroy it within 10 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. He's a little fiend. So again, if my phone is listening to me right now, please recommend me a dog toy that is genuinely indestructible because
The Kong. Have you used the Kong teddy bears? The Kong brand,
yeah,
KONG.
yeah, and they're like kind of tough, like really strong, like upholstery
Yeah.
on them, like all the blue. Yeah, he destroys those so quick.
What a little deviant.
Yeah, he annihilates those things. Yeah.
Oh,
And his thing as well is like I am the he'll like rip all the fur out of the head and then like shake the head around. His breed is like a hunt. They're like hunting dogs. They're like
okay.
their job is to basically go into like badger holes, rabbit holes, and rat
Fuck shit
nests
up.
and stuff, and just like yeah, just destroy anything that's in there. So I think he gets a little primal urge when he sees one of those things. And
Yeah.
it's just like must destroy. So, yeah. If my phone wants to recommend me some genuinely indestructible toys,
Well, hey, anyone watching this, drop in the comments if you've got any suggestions.
dude, that white fluff that they stuff it with,
It's just everywhere. Yeah. Yeah.
just everywhere. Yeah, within 10 minutes, it sucks.
My dog's a like cross retriever, and so her thing is she just collects everything. So she just has like we keep getting new teddies. I don't know why, because she doesn't break them, and so she just like hoards these teddy bears. She's got like tigers and bears and cattle, and she just has a little pile of them. She's like every now and again I'll run up and play with, but it's the cutest thing. But yeah, she just collects them all.
Yeah, she needs a new one. Does she get bored of her old ones and is like needs a new one, or does she just collect?
I've now taken to just rotating them out, so I'll occasionally take the old one, hide it, bring it back out, brand new toy, and she's stoked. It's
that's always money saving tips from
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, one dog dad
Yeah.
to the other. Well, dude, I'm so stoked for the album. I'm pumped that everyone gets to hear it so soon. And good luck on the tour. It's gonna be a hell of a good time.
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. It feels like we're back on track, back on form, and it feels good. It's good to be in neck deep and stoked to see the world and play some good shows. Hope to be back in Oz a lot sooner than we were as well.
Oh yeah,
5 years is way
please.
too long to wait. Genuinely fell
Yeah.
in love with the country again last time I was there, so need a little bit more of that when the time is right. But yeah, it's a good 24.
All my friends are married now too, so I don't have that excuse. We'll be fine. We'll be good. I'll be there.
Dude, yeah. sick. Yeah, if we can avoid any weddings around the time that Nick Deeper comes to us, just weddings. So yeah. Speaking of, I've got my own coming up actually, which will be a great
Oh,
24.
when's that
The
happening?
one little gap. In May 22nd, I get married. So
How
yeah,
exciting!
it's gonna
How's the plan? Because I got married in October, so I've just done it. How's the planning going for you?
stressful, man. It's going well. We're at like a good point. I think it's now because it's like we're in 2024. There's still like we're gonna have to like finalizing everything and doing all that sort of stuff and like paying for final deposits on stuff and all that. But yeah, just got like gotta get my gotta pick music. It's like the big one really because we're doing a silent disco where like there's two
Oh,
channels. One of
cool.
them's mine and one of them is my fiance's, and so we're going head to head with our music taste. And I'm assuming she's gonna pick loads of bangers that everyone loves, like probably just early 2000s, like 90s bangers. And I'll probably be going for a load of stuff that people want to sit around and talk about. Like, no one actually wants to dance to. So.
Half
Yeah,
the wedding sitting down, half dancing.
yeah. So, yeah, we're sussing all that out at the minute, picking music and finalizing stuff. But it should be good. I'm really stoked, and
Hell
yeah,
yeah.
it's about time. We've been together for 10 years, so yeah.
Good on you for getting your act together.
Yeah, and it's nice as well. Like we're seeing it as like we've been together 10 years. We've got so many friends that have seen our relationship kind of from the start, and we're seeing it as like a let's just celebrate us for a day. Like it would be
Cool.
nice to celebrate our love, which I guess is what it's all about. So yeah,
Yeah.
just slowly chipping away. To be honest, my fiance's been doing most of it. She,
Oh, dude, I'm
she's
absolutely guilty of that. Yeah, my wife did just not even doing most of it. She did everything. I did making me look as good as I could, and my guys turned up. I did the music. I will say that I did the music because that's my job, and that went off without a hitch. So
job done. Oh God, you can relax now. God, that was so stressful. Well done, man. Well done for all that hard work. Never,
yeah,
never mind the food, the colors, the table. There's all this
yeah,
stuff.
all that
You
stuff.
had it. You had it tough, man. Yeah.
I
All
will
right.
say I showed an interest, but and I know you might be the same way. It was better off me just stepping out of the way. And like I'll step in and be like, show me what you're doing. But at the end of the day, she wants what she wants and I want her to be happy. So I was like, I'll just support. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And if it was down to me,
Yeah.
it wouldn't look like a wedding. It would probably look like a show or a pub. It would probably just be it wouldn't be very good. So yeah, no, I trust her. She's very aesthetic, very artistic, and so I trust what she wants to do. Yeah, ultimately, I just want to get married and have a good time and celebrate with the people that I love and.
I will say it's like such a weird thing. Like as you just said it first, you're like you just want to celebrate your love, but it's such a weird thing to have everyone that you love celebrating your love. And so it's like it's just the happiest day. Like I never really got that. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's like a, whatever, it's a big party. But it is. Everyone's there to be like, oh, you guys are in love. That's the best. We're so happy for you. It's such a cool thing to experience. So, dude, I'm stoked for you.
Rarely happens. Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So that'll be the only little break that we get, or a little break in the middle of some tours and stuff, so that we can get married. Our guitarist also, Sam, is getting married in September too. So we're all growing up.
Easy,
We're
yeah,
all hit
yeah.
30 and well, nearly 30, and yeah, just doing the life thing. And, feels good. Feels good to be at that point.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, dude, I'm stoked for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, man. It's good to catch up. I'll speak to you soon.
Definitely. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben.